Welcome everyone, my name is Tyrone Nelson Jr. I am the director of Echoes of a Dream, and today we wanted to share a little bit about the story and why we felt like this needed to be told and what went into making it, and also talking about how Richmond history is intertwined in this piece and what shaped our journey and why we wanted to tell it this way. You spent months digging into the archives and uncovering MLK's connection to Richmond. What do you think were the biggest challenges and discoveries during your research process?
I would say I'm gonna answer for both challenges and discoveries. One of the biggest challenges was because it was a hard cutoff, including all the details that I found, because everything is important. Obviously, this is part of history, so you can't leave anything out, especially because this is kind of an untold story, so to speak. So I would say that was definitely a big challenge. Now, discoveries, I think everything that I discovered was really important. Like, a lot of the things that I was finding out were things that I was not taught in school. And there were also just things about Richmond and like the rich history of Richmond that I wasn't aware of because I'm not originally from here. So, you know, a lot of the things I was uncovering, I was like, oh wow, like there's a lot of history in Richmond. So I would definitely say those are the two things.
What was the moment that you realized that you were telling a part of history that people really didn't know about?
I would say, from my perspective, it was two parts. The first part I would say was the march on the Hill and about how Dr. King wasn't able to physically attend, so he wrote a letter. And then I would say another part was Virginia Union University's impact on the movement and like his role in Richmond, because I was not aware of that at all.
And Moses, what would you say about that? Some of the parts that you were like, oh, I had no idea this stuff.
I had no idea Virginia Union was involved at all. That was all the shock to me. I was like, wow, that's really cool.
Bersabeh, like from the writing perspective, how did you take all of the historical research and kind of weave it into a story that you think audience could actually connect with, like emotionally and resonate with?
I would say similar to the whole having everything and condensing it to fit into, you know, the script. As far as the emotional aspect of getting the audience to engage emotionally, again, I think MLK and his story does that on its own. I didn't really have to do too much. I think it was just up to me to be able to format it in a way that's digestible and easily understandable for the readers and for the audience. I would say that, yeah, for sure.
That makes sense. And then what part of the journey, of MLK's journey in Richmond surprised you the most?
Similar to the first answer, I would say definitely his impact and his role at Virginia Union University. He was a part of a Christian conference, right? Okay, so he was a part of that, and I think he was actually the president of it. So that shocked me for sure. And then the fact that one of the people that he met there ended up being like a key person for the movement. Then I would say in addition to that, for sure the movement at the Hill, for sure, like the march, because don't quote me, but this was part of the letter he wrote. He said, you know, everything starts in Virginia because Virginia leads the South, and then that leads America, and then that leads the world. So for me to see that, it really just, again, emphasized the importance of Virginia. Yeah.
And then Moses, what would you say the part that surprised you the most?
Honestly, if we go back to the letter like you just brought up, honestly, that whole part in there really surprised me. I didn't know he had that much respect for Virginia, and I've always had respect for Virginia since I'm from here, but I didn't know that people from other places respected it in the same way.
Exactly. I would agree for sure, because when he said Virginia leads the South and the South, all that, I was like, okay, this is.
I puffed my chest out a little bit.
Right? Like, yeah, have some pride.
That VA pride, man. And then Moses, editing a documentary, like, it meant balancing the history with the emotion. How did you approach preserving Dr. King's legacy while keeping the film visually and emotionally engaging?
Well, when creating a documentary, you know, you don't want to go overboard visually. You want it to be impressive. You want it to draw in the viewer, but you don't want it to, you know, be too much. You want them to still listen to the copy that she wrote in the voiceover. Like you said, it's just all about balance, just finding a way to create visually engaging animations and edits, but also still making sure that it doesn't completely overtake the voiceover.
And I think with this film especially, like, we had multiple versions that did not get released of these edits. Like, I think we kind of over edited to a certain extent, of having like motion graphics and 3D graphics to make sure that we had enough at our disposal, but also working with Bersabeh and like following her vision as she wrote it, to be able to illustrate those. So I definitely agree in that sense. And then what was there a particular moment in that footage that you knew had to stay untouched because of its power? Like once it was shot and put into the film, it was like, okay, we can't do too much here.
I would say the timeline. The timeline to me, I don't want to give myself too much credit, but I think it's like, it's just pretty to watch it moving, and it's so smooth, and then again, that's another one of those engaging animations. It brings you in, you know. It's different from just saying, oh, this was in 1968, 1969, and then actually just showing a timeline forms with the pictures coming up. I don't know, that's just, from my perspective, that was just the part that I didn't want to like change or alter. Yeah.
I think for me, it would have definitely been, now I'm blanking on it. So many good parts in the beat. Yeah, it's like, it's a lot. But for me, the typewriter, when we had that section in there, you know, just allowing the words to speak for themselves and not doing too much with them. I think just having that and seeing that, it really like leaves you hanging up on every word. And I think now writing is becoming, I don't want to say a bit of a lost art, but a bit of a lost art, with AI's like prevalence. Like you get so much text that people are throwing through those generators, and there was no AI there. And you knew that Dr. King, especially since he wasn't able to be there, every word was intentional and every word mattered. I think we showed that extremely well in how we told that part. From the production side, this meant pulling together and coordinating locations, visuals, resources. What do you think the biggest challenge was in capturing Richmond's historical significance on film? I know for me, it was just finding the visuals. I think the Richmond Times-Dispatch is like a great resource that we were able to go through, but just finding the photos and finding the videos to actually use, using the right context. Like, because I think there was a lot of things that we were able to recreate through like graphic design and through motion graphics, but I think just finding this stuff was hard enough. Like, I know Naya, when the assistant editor, when she was working on this project, that was like one of her biggest challenges, but also like the main part of her role was just, you know, resourcing all that stuff. I think that was one of the biggest ones that we ran into. Like, is there anything else that you can think of?
I would just agree with you, and making sure that it's the correct
citing.
I think that's what was the hardest part. Just making sure like you do your research, read what Bersabeh says, you go to it, you look it up, and you're like, is this the right building? Because there's another Belgian building somewhere else, and then you have to be like, okay, which one is the one that Martin Luther King was at? So
yeah, especially like all the remodeling and construction that's been done in Richmond like over these past 20 years, like a lot of them, some of them have like the same facial structure, but when you look at it from different angles, you're like, this does not look like what it's supposed to look like. First of all, what would you say? Like, was there anything that you had any trouble with like finding, or anything that you came across there?
Yes, I would say some stuff about Virginia Union University, like looking up the buildings that were being mentioned in the research and like the archives and stuff like that. And also just, for me, I'm a visual person, so writing, I had to look these things up so that I can have an image in my head of what I'm writing about versus just going into it and just like writing just off the top of my dome.
And I will say, there was, I can't remember exactly who it is in the doc, but there was a person in the doc, and when we were editing it, we could not find a picture of him. So I think we had to go back and change what we were doing for the specific edit, just because we could not find a picture.
And then when we're thinking about like the audience, like when you're in the middle of it, you're not thinking too much about how things are being perceived. You're just kind of creating, being the vessel and just creating what comes to your mind. But now that this is done, it's up for, you know, the Best in Show for the film festival, and it's going to be premiering at Bowtie. What do you think, or what do you hope the audience feels when they see the film and, you know, see Richmond's role in MLK's legacy on the big screen?
personally, I hope that they truly learn. Like, I mean, majority of the people will be they'll all probably be from Virginia and from Richmond. So I just want them to learn and have the same reaction I had. Oh, really, Virginia Union? Really, this place? Really, he thought this about where I'm from? I really want them to, like, just, you puff out their chest a little bit, have some respect for where they come from. And then I want them to be impressed by the visuals that we created, because we worked really, really hard, and it was a little learning curve for some of the stuff that we did in the film. And yeah, I just want them to be impressed, and I want them to truly learn.
I would say same thing about the learning aspect, because writing it and just doing everything for me was a learning opportunity and leaving with more knowledge than I came in with. Another thing I would definitely say is like the emotional aspect for sure as well. Just understanding like the impact of the civil rights movement, and also understanding that it wasn't that long ago, even though this seems like it was. And just understanding that like that fight was like a very powerful fight that was fought. And again, like understanding the importance of Richmond, and for people that are from Richmond to take pride in being from here.
I think another thing that we really wanted to touch on in this film, like you said, it was not that long ago. And I know when me and Moses were recording and putting this stuff together, I was like, we need to find videos and photos of Richmond and MLK in color.
In color, yes.
In color, because the black and white washing is one of my personal grievances with that era, to make it feel like it was so far away. But like, our grandparents, sometimes our parents were alive during these things. Like, I remember when we were working with Tim Kaine, and he was talking about how the assassination kind of shaped how he views the world and how he views politics. And this is our senator. Like, this was our mayor, this was our council member. He was here, he was walking with him, and he was in that time period. Like, it wasn't that long ago. So I think that was one of the biggest things too, is making sure that this film is in color and it feels like you can see yourself in those streets. Like, when you see the Broad Street buildings and you see like where Rainbow is now, you're like, oh, I know where that is, because you can, you see the way the light hits and all the same things. But in black and white, it just kind of feels distant. And I think we did a good job in that. I know for myself, I want the audience to feel inspired. Like, watching this, and I want to say like watching Sinners as well, like with the two films that I've seen recently. One of them's working on Echoes of a Dream, but they left me with like a sense of accomplishment and appreciation for history, and an appreciation for culture. And I want people to be able to take that away from the film, of seeing, Martin Luther King did some amazing things here in Richmond. Had some amazing words of how he felt about Virginia, how he felt about the South. But I think more importantly is there were local activists here that were working right alongside him, and like those partnerships from the very beginning, when he was at the Southern Leadership Christian Conference, and able to make those connections that impacted history, and knowing that legacy and that blood still lives here today. So I want people to be able to see that and still be inspired when they walk out. And another thing is making sure that when they leave that film, I want people to feel a stronger sense of community. Because I think now more than ever, it's very important that we know our neighbors, that we talk to our neighbors, that we have conversations, and see through some of the things that we don't agree on, and the things that we do agree on, organize around. Like, I think that's an important part of Richmond, and a stepping stone that I think people can see it as, of what can be done here, and continuing that legacy. So I definitely want to see that there. And then when we're looking at this project and this film, I think that it honors the stories in the ways that it shaped the city. And I want it to continue to inspire future generations. Dr. King's journey is not complete. Like you said, like, we're still working on the things that he spoke about and left behind in his legacy today. And I think that for us having this on the world stage, like I know you said there's gonna be like a lot of Richmond and Virginia, Virginians here, but you know, for it to be at an international film festival and be streamed all over the world, I think it's gonna be huge. When you guys think about the impact of this film, what are your goals and where do you want it to be left at? Like in 5 years, and you look back at what this film has accomplished here and around the world, what do you want the path for it to be trailblazed as?
I think for me personally, you know, when it comes to like civil rights movement and equal rights for Black Americans, keep fighting, you know, keep putting your best foot forward and keep advocating for yourself. Don't be silenced by the system, you know, like the system wasn't created for us to succeed, but that's why you have to go against it and break that ceiling. And so with this film, like in 5 to 10 years, like look back at it, but use it as motivation to keep going forward. Don't allow that to just die in vain, you know. That's, for me, that's personally what I would want it to be for the audience.
And for me, it's similar. And like you said earlier, I kind of wanted to just be an inspiration to a whole bunch of people around the world. You know, I want them to see it and to see what not only MLK did, what the people around him did, how they came together and were a force, and how, like you said, they didn't let the system bring them down. They continue to rise and work together. I just wanted to bring us as a people, not just Black people, just us as the human race together, because that's what he was rooting for. That's what he was asking for, and I think we owe it to him to do that, to come together finally. And I want it to be something that really impacts the culture and really drives us to come together, because honestly, we need it. Yeah, we need it.
Yeah, I agree. Community, I think, is gonna be my goal of legacy with this film. Like, hopefully it inspires another generation to keep telling stories, to keep digging back. I think that with this film in particular, it shows the importance of understanding what has happened here, what came before you, so you can know where to go forward from. I think a lot of lessons, you know, our ancestors suffered through, and we can have the privilege of being able to read about it rather than live through it, so that we don't have to repeat it. And hopefully that this film allows people to continue that legacy of looking back, researching, learning, and then inspiring them to do more, to come together as community, to be able to support our brethren, and also to continue his legacy. Like you said, good trouble. Like, it's important to sometimes rage against the machine, because I mean, we know that it's not built for us. And the only way that we overcome that is if we organize and we create our own systems and our own machines. So, yeah. Thank y'all for coming and listen to us to talk about why this film was so important to us. Echoes of a Dream is going to be streaming starting on September 23rd. You can check the link in our bio to be able to check that out. And then also going to be playing at Bowtie on September 24th, premiering there. So thank you, Moses. Thank you, Bersabeh, for your time. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you at premiere night.
Bye.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Our film Echoes of a Dream premieres September 23rd. Grab your tickets now using the link below to join us at the screening, or hit subscribe to stay updated to see when the full film drops on streaming.